Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ROONS and MIZZ Arsenal chat. I'm ROONS.
And I'm Miz.
We come at you every Friday to talk about all things Arsenal, the good, the bad, and the interesting. Is that? What do we got on the docket today?
It does provide some interesting topics sometimes. So on the list today, we're going to talk about Arteta and the project behind him, the long-term project. He's been getting a little flack from some pundits, and we're just going to discuss that, everything around circling it. Then we're going to talk about transfer rumors. I know it's crazy, but in a month, the window is going to open. A month and 10 days.
That's crazy to think already that like January is already here and the windows are like.
It's like the thing just closed. I mean, I feel like we just got Thomas Partey. So
yeah. He's like, played how many? He played 3 games for us or something, you know?
So not a long time. Weird season, weird intro, but January 1st, or it's going to open and we're going to have some business hopefully on the books. Arsene Wenger wrote a book. It's out. It's good so far of what I listened to of it. So we'll chat about that a little bit and just about Arsenal and how he works into that system. And Leeds, the game on Sunday, 8:30 Pacific time, US. That
good to have Premier League back. It always feels like forever, you know. It's been like 2 weeks. It's not that long, you know. Like
it feels like eternity when it's like. I mean, 2 weeks on the international break is just too long.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is about international games, but I just cannot care about them as much, you know?
Yeah,
like, not as much, but like it's hard to even get excited, especially now because club is so intense that you even wonder like how meaningful is the national team to these players, you know?
Yeah, how much they try and, you know, I mean, I love watching the World Cup and the Euros, and the qualifiers in between, though, are a little bit lackluster, a little left to be desired. I mean, now with the Nations League that they got going on, I feel like they've siloed.
I don't understand the format to that. Like they were saying someone was relegated, and then they were like, oh, they made it to the finals, and I was like, oh, so it's the finals of the tournament, and then it's like, no,
yeah, there's like it's like individual little league ties. They got like little groups, but what they've done is they've put the better teams together and the worst teams together. So they've kind of just made it more elitist in its own right for the nations. It's a lot harder for the smaller countries to break into the Europe part of it. I don't know. It's confusing. It's weird. It's a weird system. Not a fan.
And so many games too. And like, someone said too, I heard that they're like, why are we playing friendly international games? And it's like, seriously, like we don't need more games. You know?
Yeah, they could have used the 2 weeks and taken some time off and really recovered. Hopefully some of the players did that. I know Partey is missing the game on Sunday with a thigh injury still, which is a bummer. We could use him on Sunday.
Yeah.
And we have a couple coronavirus benches, Kolasinac and El Neni now. So
yeah, hopefully we'll build the team. But I mean, without Partey, it feels just like it sucks, you know, like that's not so instrumental because
we're already too.
BIOS, I guess that's our only option really. Or can we put Willock in?
Yeah.
Can Willock start? See what he does. Just see what he does. And if he doesn't play well, you can always sub him at the 65th minute, you know?
Yeah, totally.
If he's playing terribly, you can sub him at halftime. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I agree. You're looking sharp today. We both got new merch on. We can talk about what that brings from, you know, not just this and having Arsenal having new memorabilia, but I think the Arteta project in general and the whole system itself seems to be a little bit better. Even though he gets some stick, I think we're in a better place than we were.
Yeah, hopefully it adds. He's bringing back that legitimacy back to the club, really.
Yeah.
Because for a while it had frankly just gone, you know, and people were getting mad at things like AFTV for saying negative things and saying that they were profiting on negativity and stuff like that. And even like I would go on the Arsenal Reddit page, and like and just voice my opinion, which was negative because I don't know who's watching them, you know, in this past decade at times. and sees nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm
Oh yeah.
thinking if I was a neutral, I would watch Arsenal and be like, there's not a single person on that team that I like at times.
Oh yeah. More than once, I'd say, in the last 10 years. That's something, I mean, I think I've been listening to the Wenger's book the last week, and it's interesting to hear about him talk about the second 10 years that he was in charge. And I'm in that section now, and just about the rebuilding and the managing the books from the stadium and the type of quality they had to let slip. And I feel like he's not diving into it the way that he should, but I mean, you got I think I'm excited about what Arteta brings because of his overall dedication to the job. I see from an outside perspective, and just something I didn't see in Emery. Maybe something that, Arsene Wenger, he says it in the book. He talked about like how much he loved the club, how much he gave his personal life to the club, that his life suffered in general, that like it was his full-time thing.
Does he have kids?
Um, he does. He has one daughter. Her name's Leia, and but he states in the beginning when he talks about it, like, I was not a great father and was not around very much, and was just like, he has like a decent relationship now, I guess, but they live in France. That she's in university, like for some really good like economic program. She's smart.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that they've kept her out of the limelight. But I mean, he obviously didn't have like a lot of relationships. Now I wonder if Arteta is similar.
Well, I mean, Arteta has 3 kids, and just
Kids, yep.
thinking about this aspect for a second, like, but you see,
Yeah.
like, Guardiola has kids, Mourinho
Yeah.
has kids, and you're like, dude, Guardiola, Mourinho, they don't go home.
No,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, they don't turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
So you just wonder, like, like, what is your relationship like with your wife and children? It can't be that much, because a
Yeah.
player plays a game, and that's hard enough for a player, but when they're downtime, I'm sure their downtime is like soaking in family time and just being like,
Oh yeah.
I have a few hours and we're just going to hang out together. But
Yeah, where the
a few hours
manager,
for a coach, you're watching games, or you're
yeah.
doing transfer stuff, or a million other things. So it's
And at home, they're watching games and tape and reading and doing all kind. I mean, it
getting
can't be
screwed
conducive for
before.
relationships.
Yeah, crazy. But Arteta does seem like a family man, in terms of his own family, but also how he sees Arsenal, which is crucial. Crucial.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. You want someone that has like balance.
and who cares? Because like people were talking about when our Emery got sacked, or they were thinking about sacking him. They were like, well, should we get Mourinho? Should we get Pochettino? Like trying to go in for these short-term names. And it's like, dude, Mourinho, if we got Mourinho, he would come in, he'd do his Mourinho thing for a couple seasons, and one reason or another, he'd be gone.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
like
he'd fall out with the fans. He'd fall out with the board.
yeah, he'd get bored of the job.
Yeah,
He would implement his own style onto the club for a little while, and then it would go away. Same
yeah.
thing, I think, even with Pochettino. I don't think he has the kind of presence to be like, I'm going to be here and build something from the ground and
Oh
stay.
no, for permanent, no. Because I think even for Pochettino, I think his next move is probably Manchester United, and then I'd say when Ole goes, they probably already have a foot in the door for Poch, and then I could see him going to Real Madrid after, or Barcelona, like.
But I mean, all those things are like
Yeah,
the difference between Arsenal and most clubs, and even I'd say Manchester United is similar, is that they're not a team that just buys whatever coach is available, and then if he has 4 bad games, they sack him.
sure, yeah,
And you look at post Sir Alex Ferguson, and it hasn't worked for them.
yeah,
And people who are kind of getting frustrated or impatient with Arteta need to totally chill out, because like,
yeah,
who else are we going to get?
yeah, totally.
Best we're going to
There's
get.
no other manager I'd want right now, like to take over
Yeah,
at the
who,
helm.
like, what, you want Pochettino? Like, what's
Yeah,
what's he going to do?
And what
No?
Klopp and Guardiola are taken. They're not going to go there. Those are the other two that you could
That
be
you would
like, hey, you would
dream.
want that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go there.
Like I
So,
would say, who's the coach of Luis Enrique? And he was
oh yeah.
being talked about.
Yeah.
But I mean, also, you have your dream coaches that you would have if we needed a coach. We're not going to get those. It's like
Yeah.
we have our dream players, but already take those off the list. Like we
Yeah.
could say, wouldn't it be great if Kylian Mbappe came to our team? But like, just
Not going to
put
happen.
that aside. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
more
not going to
dangerous.
happen.
Like a player can come in who, like El Neni, for example, he was on nobody's radar. He came in and he's showing something where he could be an asset to the team. A player can do that.
Oh yeah.
Coaches are more dangerous, because you get in a coach, even, I mean, Emery did not have a bad resume.
Mm-mm.
He was maybe second tier compared to like the Klopps and Guardiolas and stuff. And you saw what happened to him. He got chewed up and spit out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he managed PSG, Villarreal. I mean, not bad teams.
Sevilla, when they were a
Sevilla.
very,
Yeah.
very hard team to beat and won 3 Europa Leagues.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's a good manager. So, like, and he just couldn't adapt his style or translate his style into making it work.
Yeah.
And that's the tough thing. Can't get the players behind you. I don't think, Emery is an interesting one because like Wenger obviously had a presence with the players and good or bad. I think either they're on his side at a time, or if he loses the player to the whatever outside force there, he talks about like players leaving and it's always unfortunate and that they were always an Arsenal player either way. Like even like player like Henri that moves on was like it was time just for him to go and try something else. But like, there was no hard feelings between us. Like it was very respectable. I feel like even Wenger would get the most out of players for the most part in his managerial role. I don't think Emery did that. I think the language barrier proved too hard for him to communicate with the team. He didn't learn English fast enough, couldn't translate it. Arteta at least speaks English very well, very articulate person, seems to be very controlled on what he's talking about. I think he dials up like his messaging in general. He doesn't go out there with no playbook in sight. Like he knows what he's saying to the press. He knows what he's saying to the players. He's trying to be very thorough about that. That just takes time. I mean, we can't get impatient because like Klopp had years to get them to where they are now. Years.
Financial backing, getting players that they wanted, tons of support. The fans were backing him, We're pretty patient with them.
Yeah.
Like that
he struggled at first though.
Yeah. And they still struggle a lot. They get beaten by teams like Watford 3-0 and
they got beat 7-2 this year by Villa. So like
no one's calling for him to be sacked or that, or saying like, is his process not working?
Yeah, I think it's crazy too. Like the reason we're even talking about this is because in recent news, there's been people criticizing Arteta more than not, saying like, is it going to work? Is this the right project? But dude, he's not even been in charge a full season.
No,
not one full season.
Any time to influence really anything. Like you take over any job and they're just saying like, here, run with it. It's going to be kind of a toss up, like maybe people, listen to you and do what you hope that they want, but you're basically getting a situation and trying to make the best of it, And that's not really something that you can judge Arteta on and say like, oh, his style doesn't work or his process doesn't work. He hasn't. I bet if you asked him, he'd be like, I haven't even really been able to start doing what I want to do. I'm trying to do a million things, but
of course, because he took over last December or something, right?
December or January.
Yeah, and
the worst time.
Worst. Yeah, you're the team. If you're firing the manager before the new year, things are not going well in the current season.
Yeah. And they were,
That's
and
and they weren't.
it was
So
scary. When he came
yeah,
in, it was scary.
yeah.
Like
So
we were
I
looking
mean,
like,
they were at the bottom of the table. They're doing really bad in general.
yeah, I mean, you're
So
looking at the way they were playing and seeing like, I don't even see where the improvement could come from.
totally. So for him to come in, win the FA Cup, win the Community Shield, get some big players, get Aubameyang to sign a new contract, get a signing like Partey, get some fringe players out that we don't really need. The team seems to be becoming a family, whether they're playing well all the time or not. I think the overall picture is way better, and
Undoubtedly.
yeah, and it's going to take time to get it to work right, and not to mention he took over, and then coronavirus happened, and the league got paused for 3 months.
He got
Three,
coronavirus
he
himself.
got
He was like
coronavirus.
one of the first people in the world to get coronavirus.
I know
Remember?
he was really early. He was really early when he got it. Yeah, it was in March. He had it in March.
It was pre-lockdown. Like
Yeah.
he's OG
So
coronavirus.
yeah, he is. So I mean, they had a 3 month break, no break in the summer. They're playing catch up now to get to the midway point of the season by Christmas, which normally by Boxing Day or by New Year's, we're halfway through the league. We're at 19 fixtures. They're at like 9 right now.
Crazy.
They're
And
still behind.
it feels like they're playing too much even as it is. Like the
Totally. They're
players
playing
are.
like every 3 days right now.
Yeah, and then I mean every coach will tell you, and Klopp and Guardiola have been really outspoken about this. They're like, these players you can't expect them to play the way you want them to play if they're playing every 3 days. Like
No, they're like
your body can't handle it. That's
no,
90 minutes of constant sprinting,
yeah.
and
And
you're
it's
just
just
like,
like
do it again tomorrow, do it again tomorrow. Like that's
and that's easy for the pundits to say, especially the ones that like maybe haven't played football in a long time or never played football and are just on there. Like for the people that don't know, I mean, a normal 90-minute game, you're extremely sore after, even without contact, even if it's like a light game that you didn't impose, just a general running and kicking of the ball makes your legs really heavy and tired. Now they have all kinds of things to help them recover, but like 3 day turnaround time, after a while, you're not going to be able to produce like top quality football.
yeah. And there's still traveling involved. Like
Yeah,
they might be in Finland in the midweek and then they're playing in Newcastle on Sunday. That's a lot of traveling, you
it
know,
is. Yeah, yeah. I
on top
mean, so
of
that I
work.
think we could probably go on this topic forever, but I think like he's do I think he gets years, in my opinion. I'd be willing to let him take a couple 2 more years,
Yeah. Yeah.
even without
Yeah.
even finishing mid
Without
table.
trophies,
Only
even without
yeah,
anything. Like,
yeah. Because I think the overall goal that they're trying to attain is a lot bigger than just one season of success. They're building a project again, and over time, he'll do what Arsene Wenger did. He will be a staple manager for us if we give him the time.
agreed. I think so too. And one other aspect that I was looking at last season, like before the shutdown, like he came in and all of a sudden you saw like a high press style, like
Yep.
before it was like so lackluster and so ambiguous as to what the team was supposed to do with the ball, without the ball. You had people vastly out of position. It looked just a shambles everywhere. And then all of a sudden Arteta comes in and you see people like Aubameyang like pressing the defense and Lacazette high pressing. And what I noticed too was like they could do it for about 60 minutes and then they started getting tired, because
Of course, yeah.
you
It's a
start
lot of
in the
running.
middle of the season, you can't gain a level of fitness in the beginning, in the middle of the season. Like you need
Yeah,
a break and then you need 6 weeks to get in shape.
totally.
Like
Yep, yep.
boxer doesn't just like fight, without an 8 week, 12-week camp to get in shape.
Yeah,
You
of course. Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like right now, they're playing on the back of last season. They had a like what a 2 week break that they didn't even really get a break.
know, they
And
didn't they didn't have a hell week, you know,
no, And then they're carrying that fitness from last season into this fitness this season. That's why you get players that are. I mean, Liverpool has a huge list of injuries.
Yeah,
They
and
went
it's
all
happened
out
to
last
everyone
year.
else too.
Yeah,
It's
only
bound to happen because
yeah,
they never got a full rest.
yeah,
And so I was even thinking last year before the shutdown that, like, I see what he's trying to do, and I understand that it's literally not possible right now because they can't gain the fitness required to be like Man City. And you look at Man City's team, one thing about them that really gets underreported, I think, is the fitness.
yeah,
Like,
because they're
being
strong.
fit, the definition of that now means you're not injured. That's how it's
Yeah,
used too often, I think. But that
sure.
means,
Yeah,
like, there's fit as being like you're okay to play, you're not injured, and then there's being I can play 90 minutes of full press, full defense soccer, and that's a
yeah.
different level.
Oh yeah,
And
they're conditioned for that way better, and they're
yeah,
strong. You can see it in Man City's players. They're big.
yeah.
They got muscle on them. They're
When you see players that you're like, why isn't Mahrez playing, or why isn't Foden playing, or something? It's like they're not fit enough,
yeah. They got
you
to
know.
get stronger. Yeah, yeah.
So
You're
really,
right. You're right.
for him to train the team, condition the team to his standard of fitness, I it's not even worth really judging him, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and then we have another conundrum this summer coming up is we got the Euros. So, like, when are these guys going to get a break? Like, they got to recover at some point.
And when's the World Cup? Is the World
It's
Cup
next year. It's next year in the wintertime. It's this time next year in the wintertime. I think it kicks off
what are they going to do?
November 20th or something.
Are the leagues going to continue or what?
I think they're going to pause, similar to how the virus brought it to a pause. Like everybody's going to halt for the whole month or two, and then
It's gonna be
resume. So
a
this is
rough
gonna like that's a terrible footballing decision in general by FIFA.
I think FIFA is trying FIFA. They think the international is more important than club, and
Of
they'll never
course,
relinquish that. They think like the ultimate dream is to win the World Cup, which yes, but like I think a lot of people would argue that they would rather win the Champions League.
yeah, because I think with the here's the thing is if you're with a country that like can't win the World Cup
Yeah,
and
then
you're like Ronaldo has won everything else but the World Cup and will never win the World Cup. Like it would be a major fluke for them to win in 2022. And he even when he was at the heyday, Portugal was never going to win the World Cup. So you could be the best player in the world, play for a country that can't obtain it. So like it,
yeah, yeah, and also the quality of soccer is never going to be better than the club. The team that
no,
wins the Champions League is the best soccer squad in the world.
yes,
Any
agreed.
competition.
Yes, because they are firing all year together, like
Yeah,
day in and day out. They play together every day. The
and
internationals, they
they've
just
been
are.
brought together from all over the world to create the best 11-man squad that you can make.
Yeah, and I mean with the internationals, what a cushion job for the coaches in that department. Like I feel like that's like
I know. I was thinking the other day, I was like, if I was a national team coach, all I would do is get the most flash players, like the most momentum players, the players that play the most freely. I put them all together and just when they're training at the national team, just be like, this is about fun. You guys are awesome. Total
yeah,
positivity. We're not going to train. We're
because
not going
that's
to
what they
try.
want.
Yeah, we're not going to try to like work hard or be gritty. It's just like go out there and have the most fun that you can have. And I feel like that would be as good as anything else because you're not going to
Yeah,
like get this team together and be like, okay, we're all going to raise our fitness. And then you're going to
yeah.
go back to all different teams who have completely different training regimens and, you
And
know,
their enemies week of like those guys want to be friends when they come to their country and then part ways again. And like you're right, like they just let them have fun. That would be an easy job, I think.
yeah. And like if a
Yeah,
player is like just play as attacking as possible, really,
yeah, yeah.
like I'm going to put all the offensive players, just get them out there and say like go for it, and then have as strong a defense as possible, obviously, but because
Yeah.
It's just too much. Club is so intense. But if you try to make international just as intense, like something's got to give. You know, these
Oh yeah,
players
they
cracking.
can't enjoy that. They can't enjoy that. Like going to their club team or their national team and being like pushed all hard, and they're like, dude, this is like what are you gonna teach us in the 2 week that we get to play together? They're only there like a week and a half. Like they're
Yeah,
it's Thursday now. It's Friday now. They got games. They've been back since Wednesday. They left on Sunday or Monday after the Premier League. They meet up with their team. They train a couple times. They played last week on Wednesday or Thursday or Friday or Saturday.
they might
And
have
then
to sleep in the airport.
like a bombing.
Yeah, like that's the thing too. Like some club,
Yeah,
some national setups
they
are
don't have
very
the money.
sure.
And they don't got money. Some of them don't have any money to pay for anything. Like
Yeah,
is like England and the US and all even the US though, they don't get treatment like some of the other countries. Some of these guys like are making they have it like really easy with their national team. And some of them like Gabon, like you can't imagine them having very much money to
yeah.
pay
What's
for a Aubameyang to fly first class.
yeah. Let alone like even a hotel Motel 6. You got to sleep on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. Should we get into transfers and what's going on since it opens in
Yeah,
a what?
there's
It's
a
a
couple
month
ones.
away.
Yeah, so I was reading The Onion the other day, and it said that Mustafi to Barcelona.
But I saw it on Sky though as well. Wasn't that like a real story?
I mean, you hear there's every once in a while there's some things where it's like some
What?
player, you know, like
What?
Braithwaite went to Barcelona, and everyone was like, "Dude, he was playing for like Burnley or you know a championship team," and then all of a sudden he's playing for Barcelona, and you're like, "What?" So it has
But
happened.
Mustafi at Barcelona? Like what? Like who?
I just I mean, is there something you know? Sometimes you're like with an actor, if you don't like an actor, but you're like, obviously directors love this actor. They see something, or the way that they carry themselves on camera is like, okay, I can use this person. Whereas other people are just like, it doesn't work. But you're like, why does this actor keep doing stuff? And
Yeah.
like, but for some reason, you know, if you're in the industry, you see something that just a spectator can't see. And you wonder if that's the same, like coaches, like they love certain players and you're like, but why? Why?
It must be. It must be. They must rate something. Mustafi though, like
I
I
never understood Mustafi
in general.
anything. I don't know what
Yeah.
he does. I don't know
He,
what he
the
brings to
World
any
he was
team.
in the he won the World Cup with Germany too.
And did he play though? Because I don't
Yeah.
remember.
I
Did
mean,
he
he was not
start
like
for Germany?
Boateng was like the more main center back, and I forgot who his partner with, like Kimmel or something. But like he played like he did get minutes. I'm pretty sure he played in the 7-1 thrashing of Brazil.
And
And
what club was he playing for? Like Mönchengladbach or something like
yeah,
that?
yeah, somewhere in Germany. I can't remember where he was in Germany, but
I mean, honestly, when we got him and Xhaka, that was the worst moment. That was when we were doing the worst, I thought. And
yeah,
it's kind of indicative of it because those players are a drag. You know, like as much as they've changed their story and had ups and downs, and they're good people as human beings. You know, I don't have any
yeah,
problem with them as gentlemen, you know, but when they're on the field, we play that frustrating lack of creativity, slow, like when there's that sense that like, what's the matter? You know, like why can't we do
yeah,
anything? It's because they're on the field and they don't move the ball in a positive.
yeah. Well, and Mustafi, I mean, you can count on Mustafi making a mistake at the back any day of the week and getting us scored on.
Yeah. And
Like
getting he'll
yeah.
get moved to like all day.
I did like the transfer rumor, and I could actually see this happening. Is Christian Eriksen to Arsenal? Because
In a
after
swap.
watching, yeah, in watching All or Nothing, the Tottenham, I don't think that Christian Eriksen cares about Tottenham 1% of his brain because the way that he left and the way that he wanted out, he wanted nothing to do with Tottenham. He was like, "Get
Yeah,
me
I mean,
out of
they
here."
offered him. Remember, like Daniel Levy was like, whatever anyone else offers you, we'll meet.
Yeah, and he was like, I don't want
Like,
it.
no.
I want to go. I want to leave. Let me leave." So
Well, he was a baller on a team of scrubs and people who were afraid.
We need a player like him. That is
Sure.
he would fit in perfectly.
I agree, and I would take that swap any day of the week. 1,000%.
Yeah, who were the?
Xhaka,
what was the swap? Xhaka. Yeah, Xhaka. Yeah.
For Christian Eriksen. Like, obviously, he's not. I don't think that we should try to get him in January. I don't think that he's a transfer target, but I would take that switch all day long because he's a creative midfielder proven in the Premier League. He's not at his peak, maybe, but he's not far off. I don't know why he's not fitting in with Inter Milan because he was scoring some goals.
Dude, they got a team of misfits though. Lukaku, Sanchez. I mean, it's just you got a team full of egos probably that aren't working out. And who knows? I mean, I would take him though because we need someone to be driving the ball through. I mean, I was watching highlights of the Belgian match the other day, and De Bruyne just hit this like ridiculous ball like through the middle, outside the foot, like diagonal cross field through ball, and you're just like, dude, that's like the kind of stuff that we need to be doing from the middle of the park in the middle, and that's where we need a center attacking midfielder to be taking the ball and seeing that.
Yeah,
we don't have a Fabregas doing this anymore, and someone threading the needle like Eriksen. Man, I hope that happens. That would be amazing.
I don't know how much
validity
there is to that.
Yeah.
I don't know I'm not expecting Arsenal to make major moves in January. I don't think there was things that they tried to get done that they ran out of time. I think they ran out of willingness and ability to do things over, like they ran out of time because the window was a long, 6 weeks or so.
Oh yeah, it was plenty. It felt longer this time. I felt like it was going on and on for a while because of the virus and whatnot. And
it was essentially it seemed like we had planned to wait until the very last day and then trigger the release clause for party, which still doesn't make sense to me because like, why don't you just do that in the beginning? But I think they were trying to see if Lyon would part with Aouar, keeper, which is dumb because Lyon is notorious for, like, if they set a price, they're not going to lower it, and they're not going to lower it by 20 million during COVID. Like, you got to know, just get part.
They're not even going to do it now. Like, they're going to release Aouar in January. If he leaves, he's going to leave in the summer now.
Yeah, and he was probably going to go to Real Madrid.
Yeah, we're probably not going to get him.
No, I don't think that's a possibility. But
for us to get anyone like him next year, we're going to go ahead and need to be in Champions League, and they're going to have to pick up their form and finish in the top 4, or they need to win the Europa League. Now, that is something they could do this year.
True.
Performed well so far. 9 points from 9 points.
Smashing.
You never know. Yeah, you never know what can happen in that. I mean, you get a favorable draw along in the second way. We made it to the final the 1 year and we're garbage. So, I mean, you have to – the way we played in cup finals lately, though, Arteta gets a lot from the team. I rate us in a final.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it was so surprising getting to that Europa League final and then just all of a sudden pretending as if that game didn't matter or something.
Yeah.
And you're playing with a team who's already in the Champions League. So, like, you don't have the incentive. You have the incentive, but it totally felt the other way. That was so disappointing.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a definite possibility. That's
probably
an easier route to the Champions League than top 4 at this moment. And especially at the league with so many dangerous teams.
And just having to string together that many wins they're going to have to figure it out. They're going to have to the cohesion's got to come sometime. So, I think I don't expect a lot of business in January, but I do expect some business next summer.
But I mean, that kind of swap deal could work in January because they love their swap deals, loan deals,
anything not to pay any money.
Yeah, players on layaway, buying a player and loaning him back. You know what I mean? Like all kinds of nonsense. But I would take that all day. Eriksen, Xhaka. It'd be a little dig.
Agreed.
Yeah. at Tottenham, I think psychologically that would
Hurt
bug
him.
me, you know. And I think just purely, even I don't even care about the rivalry really. Like we need a player like Ericsson. Like I
Yeah.
trust him with the ball at his feet in the midfield more than I
In the
trust
Premier League.
the Premier League, more than I trust Ceballos, more than El Neni, more than
Yeah.
Xhaka, everyone except for Party. Party and Ericsson in the middle would be tight.
Yeah. Agreed. I think that's a cool looking midfield.
For sure. And was there
Wenger. I
another?
don't know. I don't know. No, I haven't seen any other
Yeah,
stories, but I'm guessing after first week of December, we'll start seeing a lot pop up.
it's coming up quick. So
Yeah, yeah,
but
we
I'm
got.
not getting
They
excited.
start doing stuff early, hopefully, and
yeah, I'm not looking forward to it as if like I'm excited about it. Like, oh, the window's open. Like the summer window, you're like excited and then disappointed every single season. But this one, I'm just not even like because
I don't think we'll lose anyone. I mean, and if they do, it's they sign for someone else for the summer or whatever, who like Mustafi because he's allowed to leave.
Yeah,
And Lacazette's deal's winding down, so they'll have to figure out what they're going to do with him. But
which that's going to be a tricky one because
yeah, do you let him go? Do you extend? It's a tough one.
And I still think it's unfair because every time he gets any kind of
a run, yeah.
That's one aspect of Arteta's reign that I don't understand, but I think he's making decisions based on things we can't know about, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But I do think there are some players, especially Pepe and Lacazette, who it just seems like every time they get their momentum going, pull the handbrake on them, sub them, don't start them, put them in for 10 minutes against some random team. Like they could, I'd like to see him support them a little bit more.
I agree.
That's my biggest critique of Arteta.
And I think that should come over time. He's probably trying to figure out systems and maybe not trying to overdo it with players. Who knows? You got to hope that he has that thought in his mind too, because like Pepe scores a great goal and then benched.
Yeah.
So like, what kind of confidence is that going to give you?
That Wenger started bringing in with like the analytical style, where it was like, oh, our algorithm says that Mesut Ozil needs a break, and you're like, but he's playing fine, you know, and he doesn't look like he's not injured or something. But they're like, oh no, if he plays more, he'll get injured, and then they would make decisions like that, which totally fucked up the rhythm. And also, we still always had these season-ending injuries. It didn't stop. It didn't prevent the Jack Wilshires and the Ramseys and the Diabys and Van Persies. It didn't prevent Ozil from missing December and January of every season because of illness, or it didn't help his back. Like, it just didn't work. You know, we were pulling the handbrake on players because we were like, oh, our stats show that they need a break, but then they would still get injured anyway. And it's like, God dang it, so frustrating.
Totally. I mean, I think it's hard to replicate form as well. Like your algorithm might say one thing, but like if you're balling and you're putting the ball in the goal or you're creating chances, like let that dude keep going. Like, or give him half the time. Give him be like, here, I need you to inject something the first half, and then I'm going to rest you the second half.
Yeah.
So I need you to give me 45 minutes, and then I need to give you a break as well. Like, I don't understand why they don't do that stuff sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. But Wenger's book, you've been listening to it.
I have, and we can, we obviously can talk more about it once you listen to all of it or read it, and there's a lot to break down of it. But good read or good listen so far. I think I got like an hour left. Maybe I'll finish it today. He goes through his biography, his life. It's interesting to hear him talk about Arsenal. He really loved the club and feels like he was able to inject his full self into it. He said that he was at the training ground every day. He was at the stadium construction every day, in the process. That's
over the blueprints.
He's just sounds like, I mean, if it's real, he worked, sounds like he worked a lot. He worked constantly.
Some people who are Wenger out at the end were like, he's just too arrogant and he doesn't want to admit that he's wrong, and he's putting himself over the club. And I always felt that that wasn't true. I think like I never felt that he had any kind of conflict in
Arrogance.
terms
Yeah.
of putting himself or something else in front of Arsenal, or his dedication was never the problem. It was strange decisions that seemed to be easily changed
Yeah.
that you just couldn't understand. But I never doubted his dedication or.
Yeah, I think he's obsessed, actually. I think he was like he said he lived in a modest small house. He made $8 million a year.
Yeah.
And I don't think he lives very lavishly, from what I understand. He almost bought a flat at the Highbury, he said. But he said it would be too painful.
Well, I've heard like Henri say it too. He's like, I can't even really think about it. It hurts.
Yeah.
It's like there was truly something magical about Highbury. And I remember watching the games, especially with the Invincible team. And like even if I didn't really pay like so close attention to home and away, I wasn't really like, okay, this is a home game, and I just watch whatever game was on TV back then,
Right, yeah.
And then
we only usually had one game on that Fox Soccer channel that was on.
You would get whatever you got, kind of just like, okay, I'm watching it. But you immediately knew if they were playing at Highbury because the field seemed close, and I don't know if it was shorter or something, but it felt like you were playing like this, like when you got to play with the big goals but shortened field in practice.
Yep.
And it felt like somehow like that just made the game more exciting because you could just rip it up or 90. You know what I mean? Like
I think it was because that stadium was only 30,000 people, and now it's 61. So, and the way outside that ground, like I've never been in Highbury, but I've been outside of it, and it is just a straight up like stand. So that second tier, you were like sitting almost directly above the field, and I think that's how they filmed it from that side. So their angle was like beautiful because it was like right at midfield, so tight on the field. The field, I think there was only like 8 yards between the touch line and the board, and then the fans were sitting right there. So they were like, what an experience. I think it was so intimate as a stadium. And you're right, like that angle was amazing to watch. You felt like you were there.
Yeah, and it looked like a stage. I remember thinking, this feels like I'm watching a play, and especially
because it was a little raised.
Yeah, and like the way they played too was so like symphonic.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful, but also it was like that's where like the ice skating really came to fruition at Highbury was as an ice skating rink. You know what I mean?
Specifically, like that Thierry Henry goal against Tottenham, where he runs the length of the field, is like a perfect example.
Just gliding. They glided at Highbury. They didn't run, and it was.
Yeah.
I can imagine, like when they talk about it, and even fans talk about the atmosphere there. It was a joyous, beautiful place. Like that was the shrine to football positivity.
Yeah.
It wasn't a place where you go like, oh, I'm going to be afraid to go there. Like it almost seemed like you wanted to play there because you knew the game was going to be beautiful there.
It's so cool that they turned that stadium into flats, and the pitch is like a garden, and that like you could sit in, like your flat is like in the grandstand. It's like amazing.
Yeah.
A really cool idea. But interesting read. I like to listen to it because his voice is interesting.
Yeah,
and
that French accent.
Yeah, and so he sounds all business.
Is there any part that like anything you didn't know, or any kind of like thing that was like, wow, I really didn't expect that, or didn't know that thing that happened? Or
I think like a lot of it. I mean, it's just like I didn't like he seems really, really in touch with like trying to get to know the players, and just I mean I think he could have written a way longer book. It's only 8 hours on listen, but like I mean I feel like if he would have went in depth on things, but it's interesting, like for sure. Like he talks about Japan and how that molded him into being able to handle the Premier League, and his time at Monaco. And I mean, it's definitely like and he talks about just loving football. I would say that like we forget. I think that it's easy for us to not think that they love it, but those people that are doing it professionally, for the most part, are like obsessed.
Yeah. Managers in particular are addicted
Yeah,
to football. And I feel like that's like sometimes I see a manager that used to coach like Manuel Pellegrini, like he coached Real Madrid, you
yeah.
know? Then he was coaching West Ham and they were doing poorly. And you're like, why do you even, why would you even do that? Or Carlo Ancelotti going to Everton and you're like, really? But they're
They
like,
just love it.
give me a job because I need to be on the pitch, orchestrating players and dealing with the nitty gritty of soccer, and I need to be involved with soccer all the time. They have to do it. So they almost like,
Yeah,
and one thing I heard Wenger say in an interview was like, a football manager always looks forward, you
yeah.
know? So they're like, oh, that happened. That was too bad. Whatever. I don't care. Oh, we won the league. I don't care. Like, good or
Well,
bad, that's
I think that,
in the
and I
past.
think that probably stays with your mentality in general. Like, like knowing that you're a good player, losing games doesn't change that you're a good player. You like after you're like, well, that sucked. I just didn't enjoy that, but I still know that my ability is there.
Yeah.
Like, so they probably just chalk it up as that's a loss. I got to forget about that one so I can move on.
Yeah. And
Get
like,
paid a lot of money to do this, so
can change so fast as a manager. Like you could be
yeah,
sacked, at any
yeah.
time.
So give it a listen when you get some time. It's
Yeah, for sure.
you'll
And
enjoy
also,
it,
I
I'm
was
sure.
thinking I'd started reading the Herbert Chapman book,
Yeah,
which is he was like the first Arsenal coach to win the title for them, played for Tottenham, which was
interesting.
interesting. And I don't know if their rivalry was quite what it was. Like I don't know when they moved to Highbury, and that was a whole big thing.
I think it was like Wenger talked about it in the book. They gave like a brief history. I think it's like 1930-ish around there.
So it
So,
have
and then
been,
Herbert Chapman did win it in the 30s or something, right?
yeah.
After that, like he won the first title.
And he died of like tuberculosis or something or he got sick and passed away like in the middle of a season,
Oh, wow.
and they ended up winning that season too. But they were like he was a manager that he came in and that just started like winning, like he took a
Interesting.
team, he took like a team that was in the League Two, or what is the championship today, like to like eighth place in the Premier League, and then moved to Arsenal and like immediately started impacting the team. But the book is so interesting because I promise you, you read it and you feel like you're hearing a coach talk about today. The teams are all the same, the elements of the game, and talking about the pressures and how it's evolving so fast. Like they're talking about like, oh, it's changing so fast, and they used to do formations like this, and now they do it like this, and you're like, man, this was in the 30s, and he's talking about that. Like you
Yeah.
think that like,
Yeah.
oh, games in the early 20th century, like football was still just like, people toe poking the ball around and running around and like,
Oh, and they had some big ass cleats and like they wore boots, like actual boots.
yeah. So it seems like real primitive and stuff, but the way he's talking about it is like, no, it's very intense. And one thing that he brought to the game was that like he says how important intelligence is, and I think that's something that him and Wenger have in common, because they approach it from a fundamentally intellectual and emotional way.
Yeah.
Most coaches don't have the ability, or they don't have the time or resources to do that. So it's pretty revolutionary and pretty ballsy to come in and be like, I'm going to ask the player, how do you feel today? It's
Yeah.
not just like, can you do it? I'm going to throw you out there. You better not fuck me over.
And,
That's a Mourinho way.
and
Like,
about diet, like they've just figured out so many things like that, like where
yeah,
everything that you put into your body matters. I mean, I can't help but think like when we were playing in high school and stuff, and how much crap we put in our body. If we just wouldn't have been doing that portion, how much better your
I know how much.
potential goes up. It goes up significantly.
Man, we used to brag about doing two-a-days and then also doing two-a-days at Roberto's because we go
Yeah,
to Roberto's
exactly.
after each practice. And now I'm like, I shouldn't have even ever been eating cheese.
Exactly.
Like, it's
It should
not
have
good
been
for me.
it should have been
You know what I
pure
mean?
vegetables only, fruit
Yeah.
and vegetables, and that's it. I mean,
Or like,
you
some
got
rice
top
and
out.
carbs, but like,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, there's a documentary on Netflix called Game Changers about. You've seen it.
yeah,
It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, there's top athletes that have now made the full switch to full vegan because of how much it affects their ability to perform in all aspects.
for sure. And I will say that after that, like, Sam and I watched it, and we gave it a try, and I was usually like, like fad diets and stuff, I never go in for them. I've always felt like, man, I need to eat a lot of meat and protein to feel like
Yep.
strong, or to feel like I'm not like tired or.
Yep.
But we went before, this was before the pandemic, and we went like a solid like 2 months where like I wasn't buying meat at the store anymore.
Yeah.
And
Do you buy any
I noticed the
Impossible or anything?
difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
not even
Same.
really
We
that so much, like
just
not meat
other
substitutes,
things.
but we were just
Yeah.
like just taking out the meat and stuff that usually was there. And I
Yeah.
noticed the difference.
Me too. We've done it before too. It's interesting. It's ideally it would be nice to maintain all the time because the body difference is crazy. You do feel better after like a week. You start to really notice a difference. You're like, oh, like I'm not tired. I sleep better. I have more energy. So coaches now like Wenger imposed that part at Arsenal really heavily when he got there in '97, right? '96 or '97.
I think 6.
Six? Yeah, six. Yeah. So give it a listen. I know you're gonna love it. I need to check out the Herbert Chapman book too because I think
Yeah.
it sounds interesting. It
Even like
sounds
talking about transfer policy, and they talk about how Arsenal always said that like we're not going to pay for players, like, and that's why them getting Chapman was such a thing, because they're like, we don't want to pay for coaches, we don't want to pay for players, we're not going to like spend exorbitant amounts of money. We need to build something organically, and he exemplified that and really started that idea of like building a homegrown system with ideas. But to do that, it meant doing all aspects, not just on the field. It was thinking about diet and thinking about rest and recovery, and it was a really really before its time. So it's super
yeah.
interesting.
No, that's awesome. I need to check it out. I love that. Interesting history we have. I think our club, we support like a cool club. We had big news this week. We're the first club, trying to go completely green
Yeah,
as
yeah. And I was looking through
first
the
football club.
article,
That's really
like,
cool.
yeah, and I was like, so what do they actually do? You know what I mean? Like, a company can say that, but it's like, what are they doing? But like, it's all of their energy is like clean energy, like
Yeah,
for like the
that's
lights
amazing.
and stuff like that, like
Yeah,
all
that's
produced
amazing.
naturally. And like the water savings that they've done from watering the pitch and collecting the water, you know
Cycling it. Yeah,
yeah, recycling the water and stuff. And it's like, man, if every team did that, if every big team did that, that would make a difference. I don't know if
yeah,
it reverse climate change or whatever, but it's
it
awesome to
helps.
see. Yeah,
Everybody needs to do their part. I think that's what it comes down to. And it's nice to like, I think progressively thinking it's nice that our club is the first one doing that.
for sure. I definitely support all
Yeah.
all of those kinds of initiatives, and
And
that's part of the Arsenal
class.
lifestyle. Yeah, is
Yeah.
a certain
Yeah.
element of class, intelligence is always part of it. And it makes it fun to be an Arsenal fan in that sense.
Yeah. I love that. Leeds. You gotta
Danger zone.
yeah. It's got a scary game on Sunday.
I know. I don't know we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I don't know what team we're gonna field. I don't know what style
Now
formation.
especially we got El Neni and Kolasinac out with coronavirus. Partey's not fit. Martinelli's a couple weeks away, which is good news, but still a couple weeks away. And Ceballos, I think he's fit. So
And when he's not getting into fights with David Luiz.
Luiz, they got in a fist fight. That's great. I mean,
That's the second fist fight that Ceballos has been in.
he must be a dick.
I wonder, and like I was listening to AFTV yesterday, and Pippa was like, "Why is he fighting people in practice, but he doesn't show that on the field?" You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I don't mind the attitude of like taking things seriously, and you get into some training
Bust
scuffle,
ups.
and
Yeah, I don't think
it's
managers even
not
mind that.
something. Yeah,
Sometimes they're even like, yeah, fucking do it. Like,
yeah.
bring
I'm
that
glad you guys
later.
are both wanting to go full force, but
Yeah.
you need to see it in the game if it's happening anywhere, like, and it's not like I don't want him to go and start punching people in games and getting red cards and stuff, but like
Yeah. Does he
imposing that
field?
attitude needs
Maybe
to
he
be.
fields some kids. Maybe Willick gets a go. Maybe.
Well, you got to figure he's gonna rest Saka, I'm sure, because Saka's played a lot for England. Does he need
Yeah.
to? I'm not sure. It just seems like the Arsenal way of like just on principle being like, oh well, you played a lot for
Yeah.
international.
Almost like when they come back from international, they almost get like an entry game break before they go swing back in. Some of them.
Yeah,
I mean, we need them. We need to win it. We got to win that. We're in a position where I think we need to start picking up as many points as possible between now and March, or
yeah.
they're like they're going to find themselves not even in the top 10. We're going to be mediocre right now. I mean, they just got to start scoring some goals.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
the Villa game, not great defending, but other than that, we've been defending pretty well. They got to start putting the ball in the goal, though.
yeah. And well, at a certain point, you can't just keep defending well, defending well, defending well. You can only withstand so much pressure. If you're not
Yeah,
scoring goals, that's relieving the pressure on your defense. And then you have more time and space to defend well. You're just constantly getting hammered with pressure. And every time you get the ball out of your defensive third, it goes nowhere. It's not good for defense. So you can't continue to keep defending perfectly every game 90 minutes.
yeah, agreed. They, I, I'm hopeful that we'll get a result on Sunday, but I'm going to anxiously watch. It's going to be a scary game. It's a winnable game, but
Sure. They're not
it,
not beatable, but
yeah,
I think just sometimes teams that aren't afraid can hurt us. Like you see in the
yeah,
past, like Watford was like
yeah,
had become a bogey team for us because they just Troy Deeney was like, if you push them, they're gonna break. And they went out there. They're like, okay, that's how you play against Arsenal. You go out there and just go for everything and don't be scared. And they're gonna crumble first. And
yeah.
if Leeds do that, they have tons of firepower. And I just hope that, I mean,
Yeah,
it'll be a
Bamford's
big test.
good.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a big test to see if Arsenal can find some fire in their belly and be like, no, we're not going to accept that. If you try to
Yeah,
push us, we're going to push you back. But by playing well too, not just like physical. Like physical, yes, is important, but then you also have to impose your will technically as well.
it's a game asking for Thomas Partey to be involved in, and unfortunate he'll be out.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see what he does with the strikers. Aubameyang, please just put him in the middle,
Yeah,
please. The
I'm
man,
excited that Martinelli is 2 weeks away. That said on the website today.
I'm excited, but where is he gonna slot in? And that
I don't
means
know.
Lacazette
Yeah,
and Pepe's situation only gets more complicated because how are you gonna fit them all in? And I don't like the idea of Martinelli being fit and doing well and him only playing every 3 games or not scoring a goal and not starting. So
yeah,
we've got to figure it out.
yeah. You got a score prediction? What are you going to give us?
At first I was gonna say 4-3, and that's been happening a lot with Leeds. And I was gonna
They, yeah, they get a lot of goals. They concede
but
a lot, but they,
yeah, but I just don't something in me doesn't see it being one of those high scoring games because we just don't score goals.
yeah,
So I think it almost, and we might have a better chance just trying to be really compact and winning 1-0. So I'm going to say 1-0 Arsenal as a total hopeful, optimistic expectation.
Yeah, what I would hopefully say is 2-1, but I think we're probably either gonna draw 1-1 or 2-2.
Yeah.
But
It's
I could
gonna,
see them. I could see them nicking it too. I could see us losing easily.
yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to be legit, or else it's gonna
Yeah,
be a long day. But
yeah. It's one of those games I wouldn't be surprised if we lost at all.
it's unfortunate that there's so many times where we have this conversation and we have the prediction time, and it's like, well, here's a chance. We either step up a level, or we step back a level. And a lot of times this year, we've just been staying put, which
Yeah,
if you stay put too long in the Premier League, you're going to get pushed to the bottom because you got to race forward.
that's
So,
where the project needs time, but they got to start getting some results together
yeah,
soon.
yeah,
So, well, as always, lovely back again, and it was nice chatting today. We'll be
yeah,
back next
definitely.
week.
Yep.
We're gonna
And
have a flurry of games. We no international break for a while. There's a lot of football to be played between that from tomorrow till like
from
end of
Thanksgiving
January.
to, yeah,
Yeah,
which, it's hard on the
for
player,
us.
but for the fans, it could be worse. It could be worse.
Good. Yeah, I'd say the one, they're getting injured, and one thing about the virus is it's giving us more time to sit at home and watch soccer. There's like games on every day for the most part.
And at least if there is another quarantine or something, soccer is going to be going,
Yeah, they figured that out. So
that's a plus.
yeah. So until next week.
Alrighty.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see ya.
See ya.